Okay, so here we are. We've built our ship's block. It looks really solid to me. I would totally use this on my ship, which I will. And I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to select this. I'm going to do Control Shift T, and I'm going to go. There's earth, fencing, iron. Here we go. Now this iron, I'm just going to select height and normal. And roughness. Now I've put in everything except a base color. If I had an image texture of iron, I would use it, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to click here on this principled BSDF. Let me erase this up a second just so you guys can see what I'm doing. So now I have those three textures. I have my normal, I have my roughness, and I have my displacement. I just need to make this black or close to black. Okay, but you can see that I don't have any texture on there really, it just looks black. But if you zoom in real tight, you can see that there is a texture, it's just stretched. So what do we need to do? We need to unwrap it. So let's go into UV editing. And oh wait, I can't unwrap it, it's a curve. So this is where I now have to convert the curve to a mesh, which I'm going to do anyway, because when I take these into Unreal Engine to render, I'm going to export this whole object as an FBX, and actually I'll export the entire ship as an FBX, and I want to have as few materials as possible, and I want them all to be correctly UV mapped when I bring them in, because I'm going to be using Quixel textures. So now that this is a mesh, I can click, let's see, let's just do, I'm going to select all, and I'll do Smart UV Project, and let's see what it gives me. It gives me these faces. So if I tab out, you can now see there are these weird seams here where it couldn't decide where the seams were. So I'm gonna undo that. So basically, what I would like to do is I want to keep the linear notion here, but I want to scale it. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to do SY and see if that alters it. It does. And actually what it's telling me is that I need to now scale the whole thing up, and I can begin to see my texture because I have basically squares here. And if I tab out, you can now see I have a seamless iron texture on here. So while it's tempting to do a UV unwrap where you make a seam and another seam and you unwrap it and you decide, you know, that's the way it's going to be, for something like this, you can do what I just did, and I can tab back in if I still think it's a little stretched, and I can scale this on the x-axis so it becomes less stretched. See, now that looks just like iron to me if I come up really close. So now there are areas where it's going to be stretched a little bit and you know, moved a little bit. Even so, there you go. Now here's this guy. He's still a curve. Convert. That turns it into a mesh. It's now a mesh. I'm not going to UV unwrap it, but I'm going to apply that iron material. Oh, wait, what did I call the iron material? Material 001. Let's call it, and let's give it a name. And if I tab in here and I select all, you can see I have the same problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all, and I'm going to scale it on the x-axis here until I have some idea of its stretchiness. I think that that looks reasonable for metal, but maybe it's too big. So I'm just going to scale the whole thing down. Yeah, I think that looks pretty solid. All right, I'm going to rotate this because you know, it's not always going to be hanging exactly there. So I'm going to select faces, and I'm going to select, let's go to X-ray mode. I want to select, let's go edge because this will be exact. So I want to rotate this object, and I want to rotate it here. This is kind of an interesting challenge and I go Shift S, and I go cursor to select it. Now I've moved the cursor from the world origin, which is at the center of this object. I've now moved it here. And now I'm going to tab out. I'm going to say Object, Set Origin, 3D Cursor. So now this object, wherever I move it, will have that's its origin, right? So now I can rotate it. I'm going to do, let's go into here. I'm going to rotate it. Do we want the hook hanging up or down? RZ. There, it'll hang like that. And now if I go to 1, we're going to see that we're going to move it this way so that it doesn't, it's actually, so now I'm going to go to 1. I'm going to join all of them. I am going to rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees. And now it is standing upright. It looks just like the block when it's sitting in my office. Let's remove these because we don't need our reference anymore. All right, so, oh wait, I didn't rotate the blocks. So R, Y, 90. They're now in the right place again. And where's the, there we go. So that's what you get for not joining all your pieces together. So I'm going to click these guys, click this guy, and click these guys, and I'm going to join them. So now they're all joined. It's all one object. So now I forgot my nails that go here and here and here. So let's do those now. I'm going to create a mesh. I'm going to do cylinder. Here it is. Look at how big that is. I'm going to do Shift SZ, bring it down to about the size of a nail. RY90. So I've got one here. I've got one about here because we know they pass from this face all the way through these to this face, and that's what holds them together. Okay, and they're both in the center, so let's do GZ. I'm going to use these first to cut a hole. In my individual origins. So if I scale them up, I'm going to do scale as Z. And I want to look from all the sides here. That's where they are. I'm just going to bring up those pictures again so you can see there are 4 of them. They're very close to those cuts. 3, and I'm going to move these up, GC. I'm going to move this GY. Again, human made. You know, if they're not exact, it's a good thing. These are bigger than they need to be, right? So I'm going to join them all. Okay. So these, I'm going to cut holes for these out of the actual block. So I've got the block. I'm going to use my generate. I'm going to get a Boolean, and I'm going to cut these out. Boolean. Worked. Okay, great. So there's that. So now I'm going to show my cylinders again. Apply rotation at scale. So I'm going to auto mirror. I'm going to set my object origin because when I undid all of that stuff, I took away my origin. So I'm going to do auto mirror Z. Great. And I'm going to do auto mirror Y. So now when I come to edit, I only have one of these to work on. So, and I'm actually even going to auto mirror X. So now I only have one to work on, and all of these will change accordingly. So let me go into edit mode. I'm going to select this. I'm going to move it on the x-axis. And it's a flat nail head. So I'm actually going to use the shear command here. And shear is really useful because it will rotate the face without making it smaller. Let me just show you what happens if I did that without the shear control. So let's just say if I did RY, because I want to turn that face on this axis. I do RY, watch what happens. Well, it doesn't look that bad from here, but if I go into this view, you can see it's getting considerably narrower top to bottom than it should. So I don't want to do that. I want to go to my shear control, because shear will maintain the height of this object. And now that I've done that, I can do GX, pull it out. Maybe I'll go back to shear because the angle isn't exactly correct. And now I'm going to, with that edge selected, now I'm going to come out. I'm going to do all rotation and scale. I'm going to select that edge and I'm going to hit bevel. It's a nail, right? So, and now I still have all of those selected. I'm going to go to my 7 here and I'm going to bevel it this way. So it looks like I banged it into that piece of wood. And now, because I've used auto mirror on the whole thing, these are all correct. And I'm going to move each of these individually once I apply all of these. So I'm going to apply in the order that they were done. Tab out, because you can't apply modifiers when you're editing. And now if I tab in here, I can see that these are no longer in the right place. So I tab in, make sure I have my X-ray on, so I've selected the whole thing. Go back to my cursor. I'm going to move it here. It should be okay. I'm going to move it up here. Should be okay. There might be a little bit off about it. And you can see it's not long enough. So I'm going to scale this on this x-axis. And I'm going to select this one and scale it on the x-axis. These guys are where they were. And they are iron. So I'm just going to go in here and apply my iron thing here. And now the block is done. So let's turn on our render. You can go in here. I'm going to close that. If you've stuck with me through this, hey, you've learned to do a lot of different things in Blender. You've seen how it can be used. You've built an antique 19th century, 18th century ship's block. It is actually accurate. It's got all of the features, all of the parts. It's history, and it's virtual.